FreshPod is created for industry professionals and is intended for educational purposes only. This content is not designed for patients or consumers.
Master the basics, just get really good at mastering that and then continue your development. You're looking at your chapter 1, and obviously you're looking at other people who, at chapter 20, and you can't rush to get there. All these things take time. It's a process, trust the process.
Welcome to FreshPod, a podcast for healthcare practitioners and clinic owners. Whether you're just starting out or scaling up, we're here to help you grow your skills, your business, and your confidence. I'm Loz McGlynn.
And I'm Dr. John Delaney. I'm a medical doctor and I'm co-founder at Fresh Clinics. At Fresh, we support injectors through every stage of their journey, from setting up their first clinic to becoming a high-performing, compliant, well-supported business.
Today, we're speaking to those who are just stepping into aesthetics and into business. If you're considering becoming an aesthetic injector or have just taken the leap, this one is for you.
Our 2025 State of Medical Aesthetics report found that 64% of clinics don't feel confident making investment decisions, and 63% struggle with understanding their own financial performance. On top of that, many injectors say they didn't realize how much business knowledge they'd need at the start.
So today's episode is a What I Wish I Knew guide. We're joined by the lovely Elle Tallon, founder of Ellevare Cosmetics. She's going to share what helped her, what she learned along the way, and what she'd tell anyone wanting to enter the industry now.
Elle, so pleased to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
Absolute pleasure. Interested to have a conversation with you about what it looks like when you're first starting in the industry and how someone can find their way into the industry and then find that footing to set themselves up for success. What were things like for you when you started? How did you get in? What were you doing at that time?
So my journey began when I was 15 years old. I was really interested in beauty. And so I enrolled for my first course, the Cert 3 certificate in beauty services. And I did that every Saturday as I was still in school.
Wow.
And then halfway through year 11, I decided, okay, I want to go into beauty. And that was where I left school, enrolled into TAFE, and completed all my certificates and diploma in beauty therapy, worked full-time as a beautician, and then that was what sparked my interest in the cosmetic industry. And so then I was having a look at what I should do, and in order to get into cosmetics, I had to do a Bachelor of Nursing. And so I enrolled in that, did that for 3 years, and I actually really loved nursing. So I applied for a new grad program, and I started in emergency department. I really liked working in emergency. I loved the autonomy and obviously the adrenaline, but I did get burnt out pretty quick. And that's where I was like, okay, I want to go into the cosmetic field. And so that was when I started looking at what courses and how I could do a cosmetic course and then open up my own business, as that has been a dream of mine since I was 15. Didn't realize it was going to be an aesthetic clinic.
You're describing there quite a long journey where you had this reasonably clear vision, although the detail wasn't exactly clear, but
yes,
you had a reasonably clear vision. You wanted to run your own practice. You enjoyed beauty and the beauty industry.
Yeah.
Then you got into nursing.
Yes.
Found emergency medicine was a rewarding career as well.
Definitely.
Nothing's ever a straight line, is it?
Never.
Yeah.
No, it never is. And I love all things skin. I love the science behind why we do things as well. And so I just found that, with beauty, there was only so much I could offer my patients. And so I found that's what intrigued me about the aesthetic industry, is that I really wanted to be able to offer further results and give them non-surgical treatments that I couldn't obviously give before. And that was where it really sparked the interest. This is the road I want to go ahead.
Did you start with your own business, or was it a one day a week thing? Did you start with a room, or how did that begin at the beginning?
I went straight in and started my own business.
Wow.
There was a lot of doubts in the beginning and a lot of people saying, oh, just go work for someone. But I felt confident in dealing with patients, obviously by working in nursing as well as dealing with clients as well in beauty, I had that confidence and I already knew about skin. It was just putting the two and two together. So that was where I really wanted to do a boot camp with a company. So I actually reached out to a Fresh Clinics competitor to begin with because I hadn't heard of Fresh Clinics. And it wasn't until I obviously spoke about it with my husband and we were looking at what were the avenues that he works in finance, and he went to a finance event where he spoke to another BDM whose wife was in the aesthetic industry. And he said, you should reach out to her. And so we did. We reached out to her and she said, oh, definitely go with Fresh Clinics. They, highly recommended. And that was where we called you guys and we said, we want to start. What's the journey? How do we process this? And the response we got, we just loved like how comfortable they made us feel. And from there was where we started the boot camp.
There's a lesson in there, I think, around how close-knit the community is, that you're only ever one step away from someone who knows someone.
Yeah.
And so, maintaining a high integrity posture in all of your work and to keep your reputation is so important anywhere in life, but in this industry in particular. It's a small industry and everyone knows
Yes. Yeah, definitely. Yes, it was great to be recommended.
Yeah, awesome. And that first 6 to 12 months, or even those first couple of months, people don't know what they don't know. And so then you enter and there is, information overload. There's the clinical side. There is there's also the business side that you're trying to learn too. What did that look like for you? What were your expectations and sort of what were those big learns in those first 6 to 12 months?
The first 6 to 12 months definitely were challenging and overwhelming, but also exciting. The first challenge, I guess, was our business name. So the original name that I came up with, I actually couldn't get it trademarked. And that was like the first hurdle. And we're like, okay, so we've got to go back to square one and think of a business name. And then we found the business name and we were able to trademark it, which was fantastic. It just took a while. And then we launched with the name. And then since then we had other people, I guess, copy the font, copy the name. And you're just like, oh, back to square one. But at least we had a trademark. So then we were able to continue with our business. There's just things that you just don't realize, coming into business and learning how to be a business owner, as well as, working on your techniques and your style and I guess the accounting side of things as well, all of it.
If you had to go back and talk to yourself now, if you could have a conversation with that person, because you've been running your business now for about 2 years, is that right?
Yeah, coming up to 2 years in October.
So if you had the opportunity to go back and speak to yourself, then what would be the key things that you'd say, just do this, make sure you do this quickly,
Yes.
Are there any key learnings there?
Yeah, I think I would say to myself, master the basics, just get really good at mastering that and then continue your development. You're looking at your chapter 1 and obviously you're looking at other people who, are at chapter 20 and you can't rush to get there. All these things take time. It's a process, trust the process. I think
we spoke to Ali Atkins, who's our chief of people, on an earlier podcast, and she was saying just start small.
Yes.
And just get those small things right. And that's injectables, but also the business processes, things like your accounting and so on.
Yeah, definitely.
We are also sort of the industry has grown and evolved so much, especially in the last, couple of years, and it's going to continue that way. There's so many products, treatments, services, ways of running a business. When you were first entering the industry, what did that look like for you? How did you decide what treatments, services, what your business looked like? What was that experience?
Well, to begin with, it obviously was overwhelming. There were so many different products and I was like, where do I begin? So I started just with injectables. I didn't start anything with facials yet. I thought I'd start with injectables.
Basic injectables?
Yes, basic injectables. So I was treating, I guess, 3 areas and then also with filler product. And it was just cheeks and lips to begin with. And then the regulations changed and we weren't allowed to post before and afters anymore, and there's little stricter protocols as well. We could only call it anti-wrinkle and volume contouring. And that was where I dived into skincare, skin treatments. I started with an Intraceuticals oxygen facial and skin needling. And I found that really helped my business because I was allowed to post about it and tell people about it and advertise in skin needling and skin treatments. And that was where I found my groove.
Where did your first patients come from?
A lot of my first patients were friends and family, as well as previous clients that I did treat as a beauty therapist.
Yeah.
They found me and were like, oh, so excited that now I had started in the cosmetic industry and there's already that patient trust. So they felt comfortable to come and ask me questions.
Did you feel uncomfortable asking friends and family at the beginning? Sometimes we hear that people feel a little bit awkward about that, but that's a hurdle that you've got to get over if you want to be starting a business. Was that a problem for you at all?
It wasn't actually a problem that I came across. I felt everyone was really supportive. I really appreciate all of those who put their hand up to be a model and, are now, my clients still to this day, which is really nice. Yeah.
And then the skin therapies, you're finding that that's helpful to get new business in because you can advertise around it.
Yes, yeah. And then they'll come in asking about skin, and that's where they will ask about injectable treatments. They feel comfortable, like once you have treated a patient with their skin concerns and they're getting results, then they're like, oh, what else can we do?
And so as your patient base is building, you're getting more comfortable with the services that you're offering. What does that look like when you go for ongoing training and support? One thing that we are really proud of at Fresh is we partner really closely with our suppliers who we really encourage to provide one-on-one training support. But there's a lot, and there's a lot of training you can do. So how do you choose, and how does that look like as you progress and get more comfortable?
For me, I found I watch so many webinars like that Fresh Clinics put out. I think that's fantastic. Anything that I can watch, I will watch, even if it's just I'm in bed, learning about something new, as well as going to any event that I can. Especially even if I don't offer the treatment, I like to know about it. Patients still ask about it. And so I want to be able to provide information for them. And being able to go to the brands that I do offer in clinic is fantastic because it's experience, hands-on experience, as well as theory.
And so you did mention the changes that have occurred in regards to advertising. Regulation changes seem to be part of being involved in this industry. Every 6 months, it seems there's a new regulatory change or interpretation. How do you stay current, and what advice would you give to a new entrant in the market to get up to speed with what they need to do to be compliant?
I think being with a company that is constantly evolving with the changes definitely helps, as well as not just watching what everyone else in the industry is doing because, I guess some are following the rules and some may not be. For me, I've always stuck by whatever the regulations are is what I'm going to achieve to do as the best as I can. And I'm always also educating my patients with this so that they understand why I don't post before and afters, why I'm not talking about filler and tox online because we're not allowed to. And I just think from a standpoint of me, if they see I'm going by the rules, then they'll see that in my practice, I do everything that is above board.
Yeah, absolutely. You're setting that expectation very clearly that you operate with integrity, you stay within the regulatory guidelines. That all, I think, sets up a sustainable business that can continue into the future, which is what we're all trying to achieve, right?
Yeah, definitely.
At Fresh Clinics, we believe great injectors are built over time, not overnight. That's why we offer high-quality training, ongoing education, and compliance support that grows with you. Whether you're just getting started or ready to level up, Fresh Clinics is your partner in safe, empowered growth. Learn more at Fresh Clinics. I guess segueing from that clinical training, upskilling side to that business side, which does also include like marketing and advertising guidelines. How did you start to sort of build your business skills skills, and like what did you work on? Like what was important to you in the business side of things?
I guess with the business side of things, I have a very supportive husband who also has his own business in finance, the Lending Alliance, and through his knowledge of like building a business, that also rolled into my business. So that was what really helped me, I guess, get ahead with that. He set me up with an accountant and also said, okay, you need to put everything in like your CRM, like your stock. Whereas I wasn't doing that for like, I think a year. And he was like, how do you know your stock levels? Like you need to have like a system. And I was like, oh, I hadn't put any of it in. So he really sat down with me and helped me. As well as I found the Fresh community with the WhatsApp group. That helped massively, like being able to ask for advice whenever I've needed it. Other injectors at all different levels have reached out and have even said I can shadow them or they can help mentor me, and that definitely helped.
And we have a number of different webinars that we run from a business perspective. A lot of them have been built off the results from our 2025 State of Medical Aesthetics report that showed what do business owners look for. And there's a really great one. There's a couple of great business ones. There's also one on we do a lot on compliance and managing your drug book and inventory as well.
Yes, I have watched that.
Yeah, and we've got a couple on we did one recently when you were talking about the change in regulations on what does good look like. I really like what you said before around you just stick to what is the regulations, sort of stay in your lane and do what's best for your business rather than looking to what other people are doing and sort of just going, well, they're doing it, so I'm going to do it as well.
Changing gears a little bit, let's imagine I'm about to start my own clinic for the first time. What should I actually do? What are the sorts of things you would tell me, step one is this and step two is this? Let's sort of workshop that a little bit, if you don't mind. What would you advise me to do first? Let's assume I'm a registered nurse.
Yes, as long as you're
and I've got the legal authority to begin.
To be able to. I would point them in the direction of Fresh clinics. I mean, I've had a few nurses come to me asking my journey and how I began into the aesthetics industry, and I have reached out with Fresh and referred them in and said they'll look after you, they'll take care of you. There's so much training involved with it. And then from there, they often have other questions, I guess, about the aesthetics industry. And I always just say, take your time, don't rush. I know it feels like you just want to be, on the top doing everything. Just take one step at a time. Once you've done like your boot camp and you can go further from there, then you can continue your own development.
And there's the mix of pathways that people can choose where some might go and start their own business if they've got the advantage, say you had, of having that time of being a beautician and having that already set up. There's also people who will do a couple of days a week in the ED or the ICU or on the wards. And thirdly, there's the option to go and work in the chains for a period of time or maybe for a long time to build your skills there. Have you seen other people in their early journey take advantage of those pathways, and any thoughts that you might have on those?
Yes, I've had a few nurses that I have worked with who have gone through like Fresh clinics, but then they've worked for a company, and whether they're still working in the hospital as well as in the company they're in, or if they've gone and done their own thing and then worked in nursing as well. Obviously, as their days get busier, then they seem to drop more of the nursing and continue over to their aesthetics business.
Yeah, there's a flexibility there that I think some people take advantage of. It's quite beneficial, and in a way, it can actually extend people's hospital careers because they feel like they're filling two cups at once, right? They're getting the flexibility, the business ownership, but they're also getting that purpose and meaning that you get in the hospital. That's really great. For example, the emergency department, that's where I come from as well, which I love. But it's an arduous place to work full time, and so maybe some people can blend that as well. So it's not, if you're starting your journey, you don't have to dive into business ownership with both feet straight away, although you can. But there are other options available to you where you can incrementally build yourself into this career,
definitely,
without without taking on a lot of risk early on.
And that was how I started. I did part-time nursing and part-time my clinic. And then as I slowly built up and realized I wanted to put all my eggs in the one basket was then when I left the emergency and just continued.
It's quite fortunate in a way, right? If you wanted to start up a bakery, you couldn't part-time bakery. Like, it's not going to work, right? But you can do it in this industry. So it's quite fortunate in that way. And that then also translates to the flexibility for mothers, young mothers, if, a couple of days and still being at home in the way that you need to be. That's also another really great benefit for this as a career.
The other thing we've seen too, just like we touched on community, but because like the fresh community is so like forthcoming with sharing and mentoring, but we've actually seen some injectors who have then like partnered together and sort of moved into a bigger space. And so then they're like co-sharing a space and it's turned into like a bit more of like a clinic environment where there's multiple rooms and they might look at getting a skin therapist. So to both your point, there's no compulsory pathway to like what this looks like for you, which I really love. Just circling back, we've touched a little bit around clinical education, but what role has the ongoing education played in your success but also your confidence?
I guess with ongoing training, it's really helped my confidence and success in business as well, as it has helped me when I've wanted to develop a new skill. I know the avenue of where I need to go in order to do that. And then I've just taken my time when I felt ready to advance to another skill. Then I've been able to go either to fresh clinics or to the brands where they've even come out to my clinic and trained me, or even asking other injectors, what do you think of doing this new skill, or how have you found this product? That's been really helpful.
How do you introduce a new technique to your patient base? So let's say you get trained in something. What was the last new technique that you learned? Can you remember?
Cannula.
Okay.
I've just learnt cannula.
Okay, good for you. Okay, and so when you then have your patient in the chair, in the room, how do you introduce that new technique? Because sometimes that's also a barrier. It's one thing to learn it, but then the patients might be familiar with what they're familiar with. How do you incorporate it into your treatment planning?
I think with my patients, I'm very open and honest. Some of them I have used as models for training when I was learning cannula technique. And so they were aware of she's got a new technique coming on board. And I'm someone who is a little bit slower when it comes to learning things because I like to be really confident before I just treat someone in clinic.
Sounds like a very good thing to do.
Yes. So I did multiple rounds of training with either different companies or the same company where they've come out and trained me again and again and again, using my patients as models. And so they got that benefit and they felt really comfortable to be able to do that. And in that meantime, I've been explaining to my other patients, I'm learning this new technique. And so they've been made aware that I am, new at this technique. And then when I've gone forward to say, oh, this is the reason why we're doing this technique over another technique, depending on what area we're treating and the results we're looking for.
I think that's it too. Something that you just said is that you can go back and revisit things. If you are sometimes being a single business owner, like it can feel isolating. And so to be able to have ongoing education potentially around the same thing, just for like technique reinforcement, or to understand potential new way, like a new approach potentially with the same product, I think is like no amount of education is bad.
No,
so
I agree.
It's good and to have that available, whether that be through Fresh, whether that be online, whether that be in clinic with a brand partner coming in to visit you, or leaning in and asking for support from someone else, I think is there's no harm in asking. And we were just talking before, like strength and vulnerability, right? Like if you're not sure, ask and look to the resources that you have available.
Yeah, definitely. You never want to do something that you feel out of your depth.
Yeah, absolutely. What advice, this is sort of our last question, unless JD you decide you have another one, but what advice would you give to a nurse that's thinking about entering the aesthetic industry now?
The advice I would give for someone entering would be ongoing education, book in for those trainings, watch the webinars. If you don't feel confident, ask. Being part of Fresh, you get the WhatsApp community, so you can ask a question at any time. I mean, you can even call the Fresh Clinics line, and they'll give you advice when needed, and just take your time with it. It's not a rush to the top. It's a nice slow journey where you can do things at your own pace.
Yeah, that's good advice. And the rush to the top is a good point as well, because how do you define the top? Might be different to someone else.
Yes.
And you don't have to have the biggest clinic in your city and be expanding to other clinics. And it could just be that you are servicing your patients, you're at home with the family on the weekend, you're achieving your own personal goals. That's an important point to make. Just touching on the webinars, just to make the point that you don't have to necessarily watch that webinar while it's happening. There's a really robust resource library, so they're all recorded, they're stored, and people can access them. And I believe it's quite searchable and easy to use. So that's a good shout out there. That there's training that's available, but there's so many self-learning resources available. So it's great to hear that you're taking full advantage of that.
Yeah. And also to what you said before, but there's always going to be new products, treatments, services. Like the industry is forever evolving. You don't need to do everything to be successful.
Yeah, you don't need to know everything.
Yeah, sometimes less is more, because you can refine your skills and be really good at them.
I'm really confident in treating.
Yeah. And that's not to say that you wouldn't maybe explore it down the track, but I think sometimes people can feel really overwhelmed that something is launched and it's like, oh my gosh, now I need to learn how to do that and what that product is. And, you said that you introduced skincare and skin treatments, and that's been really complementary to your business. So, just small steps. I think a key takeout for me is that ongoing training. Do things that you feel really comfortable in. Don't be afraid to lean out and get that extra support as you need it. That's been a real key takeaway for me.
As well as, I guess, celebrating the small wins. Like your first client, your first, when you've learnt a new skill, when you've set a new goal for yourself and you achieve it. I find that's really big for me. Like, I still have the receipt of the first patient I treated.
Oh, that's
and I often look at that and I think, wow, look at where I've come. Like,
yeah, you're creating it as you go. You're creating that reality for yourself. Yeah, I mean, and a key takeout from me, I really like to just go slow. It's a sprint, not a marathon. Take your time, make sure you're learning your skills, make sure you're taking time to celebrate the wins and build that business for the long haul. You want to build a sustainable business that can provide a lifestyle for you and not burn you out. And those sort of things are important, right? It's got to be sustainable.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, definitely. One last thing is we were talking to entering the industry, and alongside the resource hub that we have available, we've also got a cosmetic injector launch program, and we are forever evolving the training that we offer. This is one of the most robust training programs recently launched earlier this year, and it's 3 months of great training, but then ongoing mentorship as well. It's something that we really look to all the time alongside our fresh training team, our clinical team, and it's super valuable. So Elle, thank you so much for your time and coming in and sharing your experience. This has been awesome.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for coming in. Lovely to chat.